Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of the new Citizen album, Everybody is Going to Heaven, which is not just great news, but also the sophomore full-length LP from this Toledo, Ohio band.
Kale's gonna get to see the Lord! Praise Jesus!
It had been at least a few years since I had flirted with the idea of the existence of a god, but Couch Chesta kind of has that funny way of making you rethink whether or not you know the world. And if there was a loving, benevolent God responsible for the universe and all of its beings, how could this God be responsible for this? And could this God be reasoned with? I had to find out. God, if you're listening, please kill him. Hi everyone. We already said hello. As I just said, this is Citizen's sophomore full-length LP. Hadn't really heard too much of them before the release of this album, but this record doesn't really make me too excited to go back. I don't know, man. Just gave this record a listen. All I really sort of found on it was some grossly nondescript 90s rock revivalism. For pretty much one track after another, the band delivers these really faint references toward grunge and alternative rock. Nothing so direct that you could just kind of, liken them to one single huge band from the 90s, but I think that's mostly because the group's abilities sort of limit them on this record from, sort of making something as impressive as like a Nirvana or an Alice in Chains or something like that. I mean, we're not even really talking about Candlebox levels of songwriting ability on this record. Often on this LP, I find the kind of just very drab, toothless songwriting that I had already heard not too long ago on the new Title Fight record. And I get that these sounds are aging and they're reaching classic level, and therefore there are going to be bands that kind of want to relive them, and there are going to be audiences that will line up to eat that up. But there's really no reason for kind of bringing those sounds back with such uninteresting songwriting and vocals that are seriously deprived of anything that could be construed as personality. There are just dime a dozen vocal performances and guitar tones all over this thing. Even though I feel that there are most definitely some attempts here at making some kind of emotional appeal, sort of like on the song 10, where we're getting these vocals that are so subdued. Are they trying to be tortured? They're super quiet and mumbled. We also get some other subdued vocals on the track Weave Me Into Your Sin. We're actually get a bit of a sinister vibe from this track, but it actually does not go over very well. I think in terms of sinisterness, this song is super flaccid. Or maybe these vocals are supposed to be overcome by sadness or depression. I really have no idea. All I really know about these vocals is that they're so quiet, I just don't even care about them or care to listen to them, or that they just really don't communicate anything to me. They just kind of feel like a bit of filler, like vocals are there just because we had to have them. And not that the instrumental would stand on its own without the vocals, because for the most part we're just kind of getting these bland guitar arpeggios combined with just finger noise sliding up and down the neck, emphasized by what sounds like some kind of digital delay. This record's first legitimately exciting moment comes on the 7th track, where some screams and some eerie guitar leads just explode onto the verses of this song. And while the track does kind of glide into some vocal harmonies that are sort of forgettable, sort of mundane, kind of feels like something that would have come out of the post-grunge era. Still, though, at least this track kind of kicks this album out of its previously mundane state. And there are a few other cuts in the track listing here, like the opener, that kind of gives the track listing an uptick, something a little more hard-hitting, but a lot of the time these harder tracks will switch off into other tracks that feature this kind of flavorless gloom that is so lacking in characteristics I can't even begin to describe these songs to you. Tracks like Yellow Love and Heaviside. It's tracks like these that make me kind of wonder, was the objective of this record to make as little and as unmemorable a statement as possible? And even on tracks like the song Cement, the opener that I mentioned, where I feel like they're trying to do something heavy or something a little bit more engaging, where they have just just thicker guitars where they have just noisy guitar leads sort of thrown into the mix to kind of add a bit of extra bite. Things are still kind of mild and middle of the road, just really not that in the red. I just was not feeling this record. It's so devoid of any kind of excitement that I would look for in a rock record typically, or any kind of big show of emotion, especially for music that is sort of running this soft, slow, and sad. I'm just really at like a loss for nice things to say about this album. That's really the way I could put it. I am at a loss for nice things to say about this record. I can't really say it's the worst thing in the world, but yet when I try to think of the positives of this album, it can play in the background. Things are certainly mixed okay, you know, and sounds like the band practiced. Really stretching here. I'm feeling a decent to strong 3 on this thing. Transition. If you've given this record a listen, what did you think of it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Why? What do you think I should review next? And that's it. Anthony Fantano, Citizen, forever.